The time has come to try out the first 6 things that I received in the Christmas calendar. So first of all, we got a watercolor pad, and it has quite thick, I think it was 170 GSM paper. Quite thick paper, little bit of texture, not much. I believe this is like hot pressed watercolor papers. It's gonna be interesting to see how it holds up. What order did we get this? I think this one was the next, and it's a water-soluble pencil, so you can use it both dry. Let's just, start trying them out at once. You can use them dry. Different pressure makes different kind of marks. So you can see that it's not as textured, this particular paper, because if it was textured it would be a much more bumpy surface here when I'm shading in. This is a good exercise to try to talk and do something else all in one. Talk and draw. Like so. Then we had the Tombow water brush. I've already filled it up with water, and the tip here is, I think it's called a chisel tip. So I'm just gonna activate it a bit by pressing down on this tube, and we'll see what happens with. Oh, nice. You see it like awakened the pigments in a way that it's more vibrant. Something I do quite often when using water-soluble pens is I basically use them as like a pigment reservoir like this, and then I paint. So instead of having like tubes or pans, I can just pick the color straight off the tip, the nib. You also get like a variation in texture if you just wet up the already applied color, but I'm gonna try here to see how it holds up. This is usually due to the quality of the paper, but you can also go in and add dry to wet and you get another kind of intensity in the pigment. And this also, as long as the lead is still wet, you can use the effect to get a bit of a grungy effect. There we go. Need some paper, paper towel to wipe off the excess color. Sometimes the bristle here gets stained a bit from previous colors, but as you can see there is no color coming off, so it's white. And the next day we had this exciting, so let's see if I remember, Sig Kuretake Gambai something. I believe that the colors were just randomized, so I got the Sap Green Light. And I haven't used this particular kind of watercolor before, so I'm gonna try just straight out of the pan with a moist brush, because it differs how much paint. Oh, this is very vibrant. What I was gonna say, it differs how much paint you can pick up from a pan, like with one stroke. And as you can see, I could get quite a lot of pigment, because sometimes you have to like activate the colors by dripping water to it and then let it sit for a little bit and just soak in and make sure the sealant, the bonding factors release the pigments. I know when I started using watercolors, I thought my set was like really pastel-y or not pigmented enough, but thing was I hadn't really activated the colors, so when the colors became more wet, more pigment was released. So we just see here now when I pick up some more color, it is almost, it's not opaque, but it's definitely even more lush. see if it's easy to get a nice coverage, like the same amount of coverage. Yes. The color also travels a bit, so when I did my little square here, it kind of evened out. So I was gonna say osmosis. That was a nice color. I'm definitely gonna use this one. And then for the last 2 days, we got some water-soluble brush markers. So we have a gray one and a black one. Just see how much the color lifts. So I'm gonna let this dry a little bit, so I don't add water while it's completely fresh. Let's see here. Then I'm gonna add another little swatch and go on with water immediately to see if there's any difference on how much the pigments lifts up. Perhaps I also added more pigment now that I scribble a bit more in the circle. So just for reference, I just do a little stroke over here. See, we activate the pigments in here as well. So this was the first 6 days of Artsy supplies from the Pen Store calendar. And I'm really happy with the selection. I think I'm can do something with this. I don't really have time right now, but I'm probably gonna go back later today or tomorrow and play around with this. It is time to look at the next batch of things I received in the Pen Store Advent Calendar. So for day 7, we received a new pad of paper, and this one is aimed towards lettering. It has 120 GSM paper, and it's very smooth, so very nice. See if I can remember which order they came. I believe I actually put them in the correct order here. So day 8, we received a graphite pencil and a sharpener. And now let's ask Louisa, why didn't you use anything underneath? Because this was very stupid. Now we have a sharp tip, and this is a 3H, so it's kind of firm. So if you didn't know, which I guess you kind of do know, but the different letters and numbers here are indication of the hardness of the pen. So H is like a hard scale, and the higher the H, the harder the lead. And a hard lead means that you get very fine lines that doesn't smudge as much. So if we just make a square like this, it will smudge, but not crazy amounts. We'll see here if I have. Yes, here we go. This is totally the other side of the scale. So this was an H, a 3H, and then we have an 8B, and B is like the soft scale, and then the higher the number, the softer the lead. So I don't have much of a tip left here, but you get darker lines and also more coverage, and it smudges much more because it's softer lead. Yes, so that was day 8, the 3H graphite pencil and the sharpener. And then for day 9 we received a fine liner from Artline. So this is a 0.3, and in comparison I've been drawing a sketch portrait. So here we have a 0.05. Yeah, right, that one is kind of out. So we'll just look at this one, which is the thinnest one I have. So it's a 0.003. So you see the difference in thickness here. You can also see the difference in thickness when you look at the nibs. So yes, I tend to use, I like the 0.3, 0.2, 0.3 and sometimes 0.4 as just like when I'm taking notes or writing in my calendar and something. So this one is running out. Bad example. I don't have any good examples right now, I think. Here's another 0.3. This one I've used quite a lot, so the nib is kind of squished. So if you compare these two, you can see that the little felt tip here has been squished and this one is protruding. So I find it beneficial when you're doing art, like drawings and stuff, to be able to have like this kind of shading, which you can't really do with a healthy pen. But yeah, what I was saying is that I tend to use this size when I'm writing like in my planner and stuff. So that was day 9, and then for day 10 we received this, which is a brush pen. So we have a brush tip on one side, but it's has double nibs, so it looks like a fine liner on the other side. So we have kind of similar to the fine liner from the day before. Just, you know, by looking at it, it kind of looks like the same width. And then we have the brush side. So when you apply pressure, the tip will cover more space, and you'll get a thicker stroke. Then for day 11 we received this pen, which is quite fascinating because this is a broad nibbed pen, so it's like a calligraphy, is that what you call it? So basically you have a thick line and a thin line, which also means that let's see, you're supposed to hold it in a particular way. Yeah, here we go. So you kind of get the same what's the word, same effect as with the brush pen, but in a different way. I sometimes feel it's easier to use this one to write like this, because with the brush pen, when you put it up here, sometimes when you have to push against the tip, it will kind of fray. It's not always easy to get a smooth transition from the thin line to the thick line. It's easy when the pen is new, but when you have used it a bit, it starts to become a bit frayed. I don't know if this one is still kind of good, so this one won't show what I'm talking about. But however, if you use this broad pen, as long as you angle it in a certain way, it's easier to get that transition. But to be honest, I haven't been using these kinds of pen that much. Seems like they are alcohol based, because both there is a scent to them and also they bleed through quite a lot. So the brush pen did not bleed through, but the broad tipped pen bled through, which leads me to believe that it is alcohol based, because I didn't soak the paper in anything particular. And then, was this on the same day or the last day? Let's just pretend this was the last day. So for day 12 we received a drawing pen. So it has kind of sturdy nib, but it's bigger, so it's not like the fine liners, but it's yeah, it's a drawing pen. And you get a little bit of variety if you press down on it, but the nib is not as flexible, so it's more like if you use it straight down or a little bit on its side, then you get the variation in thickness of the lines. It also has a scent to it, so I wonder if it also is like alcohol based. Yeah, they smell it. So now I'm gonna try to do some lettering, see what I come up with. It is time for the next kit out of the Pen Store Advent Calendar, and this section was the theme. The theme was, oh, I can speak so good. I'm not gonna record this again, re-record this. You see, everything is wrong what I'm saying. Anyway, sketching was this one. And for day 13, we got this little paper pad. So it has smooth, textured, mid-weight 120 GSM paper, and a nice little pad of paper. And then day 14 we got 2 charcoal pencils. So this one is woodless, meaning the pigment is all the way, it's not surrounded by wood as this one. However, they are called charcoal, both of them. But in Swedish it said you get 1 charcoal and 1 graphite pen. And if you look at this, this is graphite. This is not what I would call charcoal. But I'm gonna sharpen this one up. And no, I'm not gonna use the the lovely sharpener I received in the earlier in the Pen Store Advent Calendar. I'm just gonna use my electric. That didn't work out so well. If I used my brain, I would have realized this, because charcoal is soft. So, you know, let's rewind. Pretend that I said at once, yes, I'm gonna use the sharpener that we received earlier in this advent calendar. And this time around, I'm not gonna make a complete mess on my desk, so I'm actually putting down a little bowl here. I realized I've become so accustomed to using my electric sharpener. You know, I've had some issues with my wrists and joints. Work injury, but not injury, more like overstraining from work. And sharpening pencils is one of those things that actually hurts my wrists. Oh, this is crap. No fault of the pen. I believe this is a user error. You need to stop sharpening when the tip is, you know, perfect length, because otherwise it will break again. And it's kind of hard getting it perfect. Sometimes it's actually easier to use a knife. Yes, it broke again. I'm gonna do the different version. Thing is, I wasn't gonna say anything about this from beforehand. Yeah, no. Don't do this at home. I wasn't gonna say anything. I am not super fond of charcoals, or now I'm jumping the gun a bit here, but these are soft pastel pencils. I'm not a fan. Yeah, they'll have to do. Okay, so I'm already making a mess. Let's try these out, shall we? So I've already made a mess. So we're gonna start with the woodless charcoal or graphite, because this is fairly easy to just put down as such. And yeah, this definitely has a graphite feeling to it. It lifts kind of easily. And then we have the true charcoal, so yeah, don't break it. And there's some sensory things. I don't like this sound. Perhaps it doesn't pick up the difference. I don't know, there's something that just feels like it's getting stuck, and then it's messy. Yeah, okay. Trying to pretend to be happy. I don't have to use these things. I'm trying to tell myself that. Maybe I should, just so you know, I started to like them a bit more. So yes, you get a much darker, richer black with the charcoal than you do with the woodless charcoal or graphite. This is quite heavy. It's a big chunk. I think I'm gonna use this one. It's nice like when I'm just sketching out stuff. I think that one will come to use. So day 15 we received a paper stump, and this is basically just, you know, paper that's been pressed together. Sometimes I believe, yeah, this one is rolled. So I'm not gonna start using this one because I have so many in rotation already. Oops, I'm just flipping things over here. If you've seen any of my previous videos where I've been drawing, you would have seen me using paper stumps. And as I said, they come in a different variety. If you need to clean them up a bit, you can use sandpaper. So for this one for example, it's quite stained at the tip here, and you can just remove that. Like so. So you you don't ruin the tip, but it doesn't become as pointy as when it was brand new. But I mean, you use it up. So for this one, I know I used it a bit when I was doing some colored pencil portraits, and then it's extra important to remove the excess color, because otherwise it will transfer to to whatever project you're using it for next time. So the point of this is to get a nice blend, and also if you use your fingers to blend, like I did beforehand, you see here, you always have some residue and oil on your hands, and that can affect the paper. So if you're doing like a fancy drawing or something, I would suggest you don't, you know, put your hands, don't put your dirty paws on the paper, because when you go over that later on, the oil will have transferred to the paper, and you will get like not such a smooth surface as you would have had with a clean paper. So also with these paper stumps, it's nice because you can see, if I have, this is fairly clean, so you can see how much it picks up this one. You can both get like the blending here when the strokes, they don't disappear because I press kind of hard, but when I'm doing my portraits, I do many layers of you see this soft layering technique, and then I can go over with the stump, and then I darken it even more, and perhaps I do it in a different direction, or I do like this little circular motion to try to avoid getting strokes, both, you know, in your head and on the paper, like so. So it's a smoother surface in comparison if I were to try to get a dark and kind of smooth surface at once, like this. It would be harder to avoid the strokes in the paper, and also if I need to pick up something, like if I needed to erase this a bit, this would be harder to erase because I'd press down harder with the pencil. So yes, these are a basis in my with my tools. I use these a lot. Another thing I use a lot is what we received for day 16. So it's a kneadable eraser, and I'm not going to open this up, but I am going to show you a kneadable eraser that I've already been using for quite some time. So as it says, it's a kneadable eraser. It's kind of like the putty you use to, you know, put things on the wall when you need to put something like so. It sticks. It's not the same thing, but it kind of reminds me of that. So the benefit of this is it's not rubbing and dispersing small junk. When you use a normal eraser, the eraser will kind of crumble up upon itself and leave, you know, like residue, and the kneaded eraser does not do that. So this one kind of lifts the pigment, and you can shape it into whatever form you need. If you want to have like a very thin section, you still need to have something to apply some pressure. So we have so. Another way I like to use it is if I have done, let's say I've been working on a sketch. So for example, we're gonna use this. If I am to draw a dog, I use a circular shape, and then we'll see here where the midline is, so something like this, and then we have the next shape, which is kind of like a tube over here, and this will be the nose, and then something like this. So you see I use like a lot of sketch lines. This is not turning out very good. Something like this, and then we have eyes, and the ears go somewhere here. Something like this. And now I want to refine this, and instead of, you know, erasing and starting over, you can just take your kneadable eraser, and it will pick up the pigment and make the lines fainter. So it's easier to do like this, and then I can go back and I can easier see which lines I like. Yeah, something like that. So the basis is that you can lift pigment with this, and it's also, you don't have to clean it. It's kind of self-cleaning when you just, you know, do like this, and after a while it gets really gunky and then you just replace it. So that's also why I'm not opening up this one, because this one is perfectly good to go. And for me, it's usually not that it gets filled up with graphite, it's usually that I've dropped it on the floor so many times, and I have dogs that shed fur and it gets dirty in that way. But yes, I also often use the kneadable eraser, and I highly recommend them. This was not a really pretty drawing, but now you know what I was talking about. So for the next day, we received 3 soft pastel pencils. So we have the colors white, sanguine, and sepia. So let's just try and see if no, the chunk is in there. Blech. I have to use this one. Oh well. Messy, messy, hurty, hurty. Okay, so like I said, don't touch the paper. Sanguine. So it's brownish reddish color. And then we have sepia, which is a brown color. And we have white. So this could obviously also be used on colored paper. But the white can actually be used kind of like diluting these colors, and also like mixing them together a bit. And you can also go in using your paper stump. It's time to remove this one sheet of paper. So you can get a nice blend this way. And the thing is, the reason I am not a huge fan of soft pastels is they are messy. I mean, look here, even though this paper doesn't have much tooth, it doesn't have much texture, there's still loose pigment. Can you see the pigment? So that's a benefit also with using like this stump, because then you kind of push the pigment into the paper and it's not as messy. But yeah. So the question is, what should I draw? And I've been kind of thinking, I'm just gonna take the easy way out. I'm just gonna draw this one, because to be honest, I'm not really inspired by this, since I do tend to use the things I like, I use, and I already use them. I'm already, you know, I know how they work. Nothing new under the sun. But the things I don't really use, I don't really like. So I'm not gonna make an elaborate piece just because I don't feel like it. That's reason enough. So I'm just gonna use my ugly little dog sketch here. I'm not even gonna bother cleaning the stump in between. Gorgeous! Oh yes! Oh yeah, I forgot. The last day, day 18, we received a graphite pencil in 2B. So as you know, I talked about when I got the H. H stands for hardness, B stands for blackness. So the B series is softer and it's softer and darker, basically. So you can use this as like an outline. Now it kind of looks cross-eyed as well. I'm really nailing this. It's a floofy dog. It apparently doesn't have a color for its tongue, so here you go. You get a brown tongue. You probably ate something that's not good for you. So pretty. So pretty. Can you hear my irony? Okay, it's a floofy dog. And that's it for the third theme in the Pen Store Advent Calendar. So this one goes into the box. And with box I mean like I have a drawer with basically they're a replacement if my things that I do use run out. But it's also a place for unloved pens to go and die. So those will be going there. It is time for the final section of the Pen Store Advent Calendar. So before we had watercolor, lettering and sketching, and now we move on to acrylic. So the first thing that was presented to us in behind door number 19 is this little A6 pad with 170 GSM paper. I don't know, it kind of feels thinner than 170 gram, to be honest, to be perfectly honest. Also on the website it says that it's supposed to be kind of rough, but I find this paper smooth, so I don't know. Perhaps we have different definition of things, or perhaps it's mislabeled somehow. Anyway, this paper is supposed to be suitable for both watercolor and acrylic, and since it is thicker, so yes, it is a thicker paper. I wouldn't guess it's 170, but it can withstand some more fluids and like watery art medium. And then for day 20 we received, day 20 and 21 we received these acrylic dual markers. So they're very similar to Posca markers, but they are from the brand Nassau. So you do the same thing as you do with these. You shake it up and pump them. So they have two nibs. We have a thicker nib, and that kind of corresponds with no, I think this one is 5M, so that would be like 3M, I think, more in the same lines of this nib. And then on the other side we have a thin one, so this one isn't like that fabric, no, not fabric, but this kind of porous material. It's feels like it's more plasticky and synthetic. So yeah, I'm just gonna shake these awake and we'll see what they look like. They're blue and white, so yeah, that's what they look like. Shake, shake, shake. If I was a very dedicated YouTuber, I would have picked another camera angle now, so you can see, you know, the color seeping down here. Can you see here? But alas, I have mounted my phone, which I am filming with, and I can't really be bothered. So here we go, we have the blue one. It's even more visible when you have the thicker nib. Sometimes you pump it and sometimes you hold to let it fill up the nib. Yes, nice, nice. Of course there are some dog hair. What would my life be without dog hair? Absolutely everywhere. Pump it up, you got to pump it up. White. This was a slow one. Oh, it's coming. So the color is coming down. Come on. Still not completely saturated, so I'll try to get some more. Yeah, so the color is coming out. The nib is not completely saturated, so I'm just gonna keep on pumping a bit. So yeah, also, I don't know, I suspect these are refillable, or at least the nibs are interchangeable, since you can screw away this one. The overall impression of these markers, like the design, they look so cheap. I like this, that you probably have, this is probably how much ink you have left, I guess. Yeah, because I can see air bubbles in here, so this is an indicator of how much you have left. But to be honest, they look really cheap. I don't think there's anything wrong with them, but I mean, appearance does make a difference. I much prefer the look of this one. However, this one would be a better product if it's the same specs, like you have two nibs and you can see how much acrylic color you have left in here. But yeah, that was for day 20 and 21. And then for day 22, we received a synthetic brush. So it's a round tip, size 4, and I believe this is kind of one of my favorite go-to sizes when I'm drawing. And you can use this for both watercolor and acrylics. So basically what you want is a brush that contains a lot of fluid, that like holds on to the fluid. If you just have a couple of strands, it's really hard, because then you have to constantly re-add color, but this one can hold a bit. So as I said, it's a synthetic version, and when they come straight out of like from the store, and you have these protective things above, they are stiff, and then you kind of have to use your dirty paint water, because that's what you do. So you have to like break it up a bit, and then you see the full extent of this brush, that it's separated, and it contains quite a lot of color. So the acrylic marker, the acrylic color is water-based, so when it's wet you can add water and push it around. I'm just gonna do this for fun. Let's see now if this was, take this end and make a splodge here, because if you press down too much you get a little pool of color, and then you can just use it as, you know, color from a tube, and you can water it down and make a wash, so you have like an acrylic wash like this. You have to be extra careful to rinse off your brush when you are painting with acrylics, because if you let the acrylic dry on the brush, it will ruin the brush. But there you have like one way of using both, like these ones and and these ones which will come later on. But yeah, I really like this. It's a nice brush. I have a couple of them already, and I'm sure I'm gonna use this quite a lot. And then for day 23 and 24 we got some acrylic colors, like acrylic paint in small tubes. So all of the colors were just randomized what color you got, so I can't really say that this screams Christmas, and I can't really be like, oh, so what are you going to paint? What subject matter is orange and blue? I don't know. I'm gonna try these colors out and I will try to create some kind of artwork. Come on, this is not the easiest task. Ooh, nice. So now we have an orange splotch on my nail. I didn't bring any paper, I'm a noob. We'll just do like this and then we just squeeze it around. Yeah, out of sight, out of mind. Let's see here, if I can remove this. Yes. Now we have even more color everywhere. How nice. How nice. How am I gonna sort this out now? Yeah, so that was the orange one. Let's see here. So you can also have different kinds of color, like heavy body and soft body and all of that. And it's the main aspect is how thick it is, how much pigment there is in the paints, so how much coverage you get. And then you have a bunch of mediums that you can use, both to thin out the colors and also to make it thicker, because something that's quite fun with using acrylics is when you use like the structure that you can get if you make like bigger chunks and let them dry. I like this blue, it was nice. And then you can also get a matte finish or a glossy finish. So that kind of depends. And it's also something that's quite important to think about if you're mixing different, if you mix different types of acrylic. For example, I suspect that these ones will dry glossy, and then we have next to it we have that acrylic marker which dries matte. So that makes quite a difference if you were to use them together. So yeah, how can I create some kind of artwork based on this that preferably is something Christmassy? I just want to try to mix the two colors together. Yeah, I have to have a little think before I can start creating some kind of artwork. To wrap up and summarize this advent calendar, I really enjoyed it. No, I didn't get that many different kind of colors, but this is just, you know, to try out some things. And I mean, the thing I like the most... Oh, I should have thought this through. Which did I like the most? And also, where did the green little pot go? Anyway, this is almost all of the art supplies, but you have seen in my previous videos and this video, if I put this in a compilation video, you will have seen all of the things. I really like the little tub of watercolor we received, and I actually really enjoyed this. I mean, this is not a masterpiece, but it was quite fun to do. My least favorite were, as I mentioned before, the pastel pencils. These are not my friends. And also the end result. I mean, I didn't put my soul into it, obviously, because then my soul would be ugly. This little doodle thing. No, did not like it. I did not enjoy it, but I really did enjoy the supplies we got for lettering and this little thing I wrote, and also, as I mentioned before, the supplies we got for the watercolors. So for me, I'm not too fond of using watercolor pencils such as this. As I mentioned beforehand, the thing I like to do the most in this case is just to use it as a portable, you know, source of pigment. So I basically just have my pencil, and then I use the brush to pick up some pigment and use it like that, because I'm not too fond of the texture that you get when you re-wet or just, you know, wet the pencil when you put it down. Oh, I'm so good at explaining things. I feel so about these kinds of watercolor markers, but I like them more because I like them the way that the pigment flows and stuff. So yeah, but the thing I liked the most about the first section was this little tub with watercolors. So yes, now I have a fun time putting everything away in its place. This was the little finished artwork I created with the last section, the acrylic art supplies. But would I recommend people to buy this kind of pen store advent calendar? Yes. I also believe that they have improved quite a bit. I bought the first version that came out, and I don't have all of the art supplies in front of me, but this was what we got then. I drew everything. I did like that we got a proper sketchbook, and I have since filled that one up. It is this little sketchbook. I believe I have toured this sketchbook, if I'm not mistaken. I really enjoyed working in this. So yeah, that was the sketchbook we received, and just a bunch of different, you know, art supplies, but including glitter glue. Never used that. And Sharpies is kind of hard to find a purpose for. It's more like marking stuff, not creating artwork, in my opinion. I like that we got a fountain pen. So I enjoyed the first advent calendar I bought as well, but I thought that this year, the 2023 advent calendar was more, it was better put together. It was more thought had gone into it. And also, I absolutely loved the packaging, you know, it being two-sided with a lot of compartments and stuff. So yes, I think I might buy it again next year. We'll see. It also depends on how much I actually go through my stash, because I should really start shopping my stash instead of buying new things, but that's not as fun. So yes, that will be my little wrap up for my pen store advent calendar unboxing and trying out. I hope you've enjoyed this little video, and if you have, please leave a comment down below and subscribe, and you'll get to see more content from yours truly. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Bye bye. Hej då!